Ever wondered how the Amish manage to keep their food fresh all year long without modern technology? Today, we're diving into the timeless secrets of Amish food preservation that will not only change the way you think about storing food, but could also teach you how to stockpile like the pros. Stick around. What we're about to uncover could transform your pantry forever. Amish foods that never expire. A timeless tradition of survival and self-sufficiency. When you think of the Amish, you think of simplicity, quiet, peaceful. Yet, there's something more hidden in their way of life. Something incredibly practical. It's their approach to food stockpiling. They don't just gather food. They prepare for the long haul. Decades, sometimes. The Amish have been stockpiling foods that never expire. And it's not by accident. It's intentional. It's smart. It's a survival tactic that's been passed down through generations. They've learned that the key to not just living, but thriving is in storing the right foods. Foods that stand the test of time. Think about it. What foods don't go bad? Foods that, if stored right, can sit on a shelf for years, maybe even decades. What's their secret? Well, it's no magic. It's knowledge. Old knowledge. Knowledge that stretches back to a time when people didn't rely on supermarkets or refrigerators. Foods that are dried, fermented, preserved, and canned. No preservatives, no chemicals, just pure natural goodness. Canning, the Amish way of long-term storage. First, let's talk about canning. The Amish are masters at it. They don't just can fruits or veggies. No, they can almost everything. Apples, pears, carrots, potatoes, even meats. Everything goes into jars, sealed and waiting. One of the keys is vinegar. It's not just for pickles, you see. It helps preserve, and the Amish use it in everything. Apple cider vinegar, red wine vinegar, it's their secret ingredient. It's not just about preserving food. It's about preserving the flavor too. These jars are filled with rich, sweet, tangy, or savory delights that last long past their seasons. One bite, and you'll taste the care that went into each jar. But it's not just the fruits or vegetables you'll find. The Amish can jars of meats. Yes, meats. Chickens, pork, beef, all sealed in jars. You might be thinking, how can meat last forever? Well, it doesn't quite last forever, but it sure lasts long enough. They use a pressure canner, sealing meat in jars at a temperature that kills bacteria and preserves freshness. It's not just practical, it's genius. It's the kind of thing that's been done for centuries. And it still works today. Drying, nature's way of preserving. Next, the Amish don't just can. They dry. The simplest foods to preserve. And they dry everything. Apples, tomatoes, beans, herbs, you name it. It's the oldest trick in the book. And frankly, it works like a charm. Drying foods removes the moisture. And moisture is the enemy of food preservation. Without moisture, mold and bacteria can't grow. No moisture, no spoilage. That's the beauty of drying. But it's not just about hanging herbs or using a dehydrator. The Amish have perfected the art of air drying. No fancy equipment required, just the natural elements. The sun, the wind, and a little bit of patience. Think about those sun-dried tomatoes. Ever wonder how they last so long? Or how about the dried apples that you can just store in a jar and they're good for years? The Amish know how to do it right. Fermentation, the living foods that never die. Then there's fermentation, a process that's been around for centuries. And the Amish have it down to a science. Sauerkraut, pickles, kimchi, all fermented foods. And the beauty of fermented foods is that they're alive. They continue to ferment, even when they're sitting in a jar on your shelf. The bacteria that work to ferment these foods also help preserve them. And over time, they can last for years without refrigeration. Fermented foods are rich in probiotics too. They're not just good for storage, they're good for your gut. So it's a win-win. The Amish prepare large batches of sauerkraut. They'll store it for the winter, and when it's time, they pull out a jar full of flavor. The pickles, though, they last even longer. The brine is packed with natural preservatives. You don't need a fridge, just a cool, dark place. That's all. Smoked meats and cheeses, preserved by time and tradition. Smoked meats and cheeses are another go-to for the Amish. Smoked ham, bacon, turkey, and even sausages. These are foods that get better with age. The smoking process itself preserves the meats, and it adds a rich, deep flavor. The Amish use a smoker to cure meats slowly. This method ensures the food stays good for months. The flavors deepen over time. It's not just about preservation. It's about creating a flavor that's hard to replicate. Cheese? Oh, they've got that covered too. The Amish are famous for their cheese. Cheddar, Swiss, Gouda, and more. And what makes it even better? The way they preserve it. Cheese is naturally preserved by aging, and the Amish understand that. They store cheeses in a cool, dry place, and over time, they get sharper, richer, and more flavorful. You can keep it for years, and every bite tastes like tradition. The Amish secret, time and patience. In the end, it's all about time. The Amish have learned that good food doesn't spoil if you treat right. They don't rush. They take their time with every jar of pickles, every piece of smoked meat, every batch of fermented sauerkraut. It's not about quick fixes or fast food. It's about patience. It's about respect for the earth, respect for tradition, and respect for what they put into their bodies. So, the next time you think about stockpiling food, think of the Amish. Think of canning, drying, fermenting, smoking. Think of the foods that never expire. More Amish foods that stand the test of time. The beauty of Amish food stockpiling isn't just in what they preserve, it's in how they do it. They have a deep respect for the land, for seasons, for the natural rhythm of life. This is why they don't just throw food into a jar or on a shelf and hope for the best. They prepare, they respect, they make food that isn't just for now. It's for the long term. They create an abundance, something for the hard winters, something for lean years, something to always fall back on. It's not just about survival, it's about sustainability. The Amish don't believe in waste. They don't buy food just to consume it quickly. They grow, they harvest, they preserve, and they make sure it will be there when they need it most. The foundation of their food preservation techniques lies in their resourcefulness, their self-sufficiency, and their unwavering belief in tradition. They don't want to rely on the outside world. And why should they? They've got everything they need right on their land. Grains and legumes, the heart of Amish food storage. Let's talk grains and legumes. These are the staples of the Amish diet, and they're stored like gold. Wheat, corn, oats. These are the foundation of their daily meals. The Amish don't just store a little bit of grain here and there. They store piles. Large sacks of oats, buckets of wheat, tons of dried beans and lentils. And these aren't just thrown into any old storage bin. They're stored properly, airtight containers, cool, dry places. And when it's time, they're ground into flour or made into hearty meals that can last for days. Grains, especially, are perfect for long-term storage. You can make bread, porridge, soups, even bake your own crackers if you need to. They last for years, slowly nourishing you when everything else is out of reach. Beans and lentils? They're incredibly versatile. You can use them in soups, stews, or even just cook them as a side dish. They don't just last, they feed you. They fill you up. And the Amish know the power of beans and grains. Root vegetables, the hidden giants of long-term storage. Root vegetables, potatoes, carrots, turnips, beets, are another secret weapon in the Amish food stockpiling arsenal. These vegetables aren't just for a season, they're built for the long haul. Once harvested, they're carefully stored in cool, dark places. Root cellars. These cellars are masterpieces of old-world engineering. Built underground to stay cool and insulated, they provide the perfect environment for vegetables to last for months. You might think potatoes go bad after a few weeks. Not if you store them right. Not if you have a proper root cellar. Potatoes stored in the dark, in the right temperature, can last until the next harvest season. Same goes for carrots and other root veggies. The Amish don't let these things go to waste. They've figured out how to keep them fresh and full of flavor for as long as possible. The longer they're stored, the more flavor they develop. It's the perfect example of how time only enhances the value of good food. Jams, jellies, and preserves, sweetness that lasts. Now let's talk about sweetness. The Amish aren't just about practical preservation. They know how to make food delicious and long-lasting. One of the most iconic preserved foods in Amish households is homemade jam. Made from the freshest fruit, picked at the height of the season, and turned into jam or jelly. But these aren't just any jams. These are jams that can sit on a shelf for years. Why? Because of the way they're made. With sugar, with pectin, with the perfect balance of ingredients, these jams can last for ages without spoiling. The best part? They get better with time. Over the months, the flavors deepen. The fruits meld together in a rich, sweet, vibrant concoction. The Amish make jams from everything. Berries, peaches, apples, grapes, you name it. And they're stored in glass jars, sealed tightly. It's not just food preservation, it's an art form. These jars of sweetness are more than just food, they're memories. And those memories last. They remind the Amish of harvest seasons past and the work that went into preparing for the future. The power of salt, preserving in plain sight. Salt is another silent partner in the Amish preservation tradition. It's simple, yet incredibly powerful. Salt preserves. Salt cures. Salt is often used to cure meats and vegetables. You'll find Amish families salting their pork, their ham, their fish, even their eggs. Salt works as a natural preservative, drawing out moisture and creating an environment where bacteria can't survive. In Amish kitchens, salt isn't just a flavor enhancer, it's a lifeline. It's the reason why meats last longer. It's the reason why pickles stay crisp and fresh. Salted foods, when stored in the right conditions, can be kept for months, even years. And the beauty is when you salt something, it not only preserves it, it enhances the flavor. The process itself brings out the best in the food, whether it's a fresh cut of meat or a batch of cucumbers. It's a simple process, but it's effective. And the Amish have known this secret for centuries. The Amish way, a lifetime of learning. The Amish know something we don't always understand. Food is more than just something we eat. Food is a connection to the land, to the seasons, and to our ancestors. It's about survival, yes, but it's also about living well. It's about making the most of what you've got. It's about respecting the earth and respecting the process of preserving it. They don't rely on fancy gadgets or modern technology. They rely on what's worked for centuries. Canning, drying, fermenting, smoking. These old methods aren't just ways to save food. They're ways to preserve life. The Amish understand the value of patience, of waiting, of being ready. They stockpile not out of fear, but out of wisdom. They don't just prepare for tomorrow. They prepare for a lifetime. So, the next time you think about food preservation, think about the Amish. Think about the slow, intentional ways they've found to keep food fresh and vibrant. Think about their traditions that have lasted hundreds of years. They've learned that good food doesn't spoil easily. And with a little care and a lot of time, it doesn't have to. Amish foods that never expire. A deeper look into their preservation wisdom. The Amish way of life is about living with the land, working with nature, and preparing for the future. Their food preservation techniques are not just about stockpiling. They're about respecting the natural cycles of the earth. They're about ensuring that no matter what happens, they have the sustenance to endure. And it's not just about survival. It's about thriving. It's about creating a legacy of self-sufficiency, one that has lasted for generations and continues to be passed down. The methods the Amish use are deeply tied to their way of thinking. They don't waste. They don't overconsume. Every grain, every vegetable, every jar of jam is treated with respect. For them, food isn't just for today. It's for tomorrow, for next year, for the seasons ahead. And this philosophy is what allows them to live in harmony with the land, not just for a season, but for a lifetime. How the Amish use honey to preserve and sweeten. Another fascinating aspect of Amish food preservation is their use of honey. While honey is often seen as just a sweetener, the Amish know that it's much more than that. Honey doesn't just preserve, it is a preservative. When stored properly, it can last indefinitely. It doesn't spoil. In fact, archaeologists have discovered pots of honey in ancient tombs that are still perfectly edible after thousands of years. For the Amish, honey is a dual-purpose ingredient. It's used to sweeten teas, baked goods, and other treats. But more importantly, it's used in preservation. Amish families often preserve fruits and vegetables in honey, allowing the natural sweetness to infuse and prevent spoilage. Honey is also used in fermented foods, acting as a natural preservative while also adding a layer of sweetness to the tangy flavors of fermented pickles or kombucha. What's truly amazing about honey is that it's not only a great preservative but also packed with health benefits. Raw honey, often sourced from local beekeepers, is high in antioxidants and has antibacterial properties. It's the perfect food to store for long-term use, especially when it's treated with such care and respect. The Amish and root cellars, a perfect storage solution. The Amish root cellar is perhaps one of the most iconic elements of their food storage system. This underground space, built into the earth, is designed to keep temperatures stable and cool year-round. It's a natural refrigerator, no electricity needed. Root cellars are used to store everything from apples to potatoes, carrots to onions, and even jars of canned goods. The design of a root cellar is simple but brilliant. The earth acts as insulation, keeping the temperature constant, even in the hottest of summer days or the coldest of winter nights. The cool, dark environment slows down the ripening process of fruits and vegetables, helping them last far longer than they would otherwise. In a root cellar, apples can last for months, onions can stay fresh without sprouting, and carrots retain their sweetness. And the beauty of it is, it's sustainable. The Amish don't need modern refrigeration or complicated technology to keep their food fresh. They rely on the natural cooling of the earth, a method that has been used for centuries. But the root cellar isn't just for vegetables. It's also the perfect place to store homemade preserves, fermented foods, or even root crops like potatoes, which, when stored in the right conditions, can last until the next harvest. The root cellar is a symbol of the Amish way of life, self-sufficient, natural, and deeply connected to the earth. The art of preserving with oil. Amish techniques for long-lasting flavor. Another fascinating aspect of Amish food preservation is their use of oil to extend the shelf life of various foods. While oils like olive oil are widely used for cooking and flavoring, the Amish have found that it's also a powerful tool for preservation. Many Amish households make use of oil to preserve vegetables, such as tomatoes or peppers, by submerging them in a jar of oil. This method creates a barrier, preventing air and bacteria from coming in contact with the food. The oil acts as a sealant, locking in freshness and flavor for months. This technique isn't just limited to vegetables. The Amish also use oil to preserve herbs and garlic, creating their own infused oils. These oils are not only a practical way to preserve food, they also add a rich depth of flavor to meals. Infused oils, made with herbs like rosemary, thyme, and basil, are commonly stored and used as seasonings in Amish kitchens. Not only do they preserve the flavor of the herbs, but they also make an easy, ready-to-use ingredient that adds an extra layer of flavor to any dish. And it's not just about practicality, it's about taste. The Amish know that preserving food isn't just about making it last. It's about keeping the essence of the food intact. They preserve in ways that allow the original flavors and textures to shine through, giving their dishes a unique richness that comes from careful, thoughtful preservation. The Amish secret to fresh herbs and spices. Fresh herbs and spices are an essential part of any kitchen, but they often have short shelf life. The Amish have long known that growing and preserving herbs is key to maintaining a rich, flavorful diet throughout the year. They dry herbs, store them in airtight jars, and use them throughout the winter months. But drying isn't the only method the Amish use. They also preserve herbs in oil, in vinegar, or by fermenting them. Fresh herbs like basil, oregano, and mint are grown in abundance, carefully harvested, and then stored in various ways to keep their flavor intact. The drying process doesn't diminish the herb's power, it enhances it. When stored properly, these dried herbs can retain their potency and flavor for months, even years. Herbs like sage and thyme are often stored in bundles, tied and hung in the kitchen, where the dry air allows them to retain their essential oils. And for the Amish, these herbs are more than just seasonings. They're part of a long tradition of living off the land, ensuring that everything they eat is flavorful, fresh, and meaningful. A tradition that's built to last. When you look at Amish food preservation methods, what strikes you most isn't just the longevity of the food, it's the thoughtfulness behind it. Every jar of preserves, every dried herb, every root vegetable in the cellar is part of a larger story. A story of survival, yes, but also a story of living harmoniously with nature. The Amish don't just preserve food, they preserve their heritage, their way of life, and their connection to the earth. The techniques they use may seem simple, but they are grounded in centuries of experience. They've learned what works. They've learned to respect the land and its cycles. And they've created a system that ensures they'll never go hungry, no matter what. In a world that moves faster and faster, the Amish slow down, take their time, and build food security for themselves and their families. This isn't just about survival. It's about creating a life where food doesn't just sustain your body. It sustains your soul, too. The Amish art of canning, a tradition that spans generations. Canning is one of the most well-known preservation techniques in Amish households, and it's more than just a method of storing food. It's a tradition passed down through the generations. Each year, as the harvest season approaches, Amish families prepare for the canning process, bringing in the fruits of their labor and carefully preserving them for the colder months. The canning process itself is almost like a ritual. There's something calming about it, a sense of accomplishment as the jars are sealed and the food is ready to be stored away. The Amish canning method isn't just about putting food in a jar and hoping it lasts. No, it's a detailed, precise process that requires skill and knowledge. The food is picked at the peak of its ripeness, ensuring that every jar contains the very best the land has to offer. Then, it's carefully prepared, cooked, and sealed in sterilized jars, ensuring that no bacteria or air can spoil the food. Whether it's tomatoes, green beans, or pickles, the canning process locks in nutrients, flavor, and freshness, making it possible to enjoy these foods long after the growing season has ended. What makes Amish canning unique is the careful attention to detail. The Amish aren't just preserving food, they're preserving quality. Each jar is a testament to their careful stewardship of the land and their respect for nature's bounty. Canning is a way to honor the earth, to make the most of what it offers and to ensure that the harvest is never wasted. It's a tradition that ensures there's always something to eat, no matter the season. Fermentation, the natural way to preserve food. Fermentation is another preservation method the Amish rely on, one that not only extends the shelf life of food, but also enhances its nutritional value. While many people think of fermentation as a trendy modern food practice, the Amish have been fermenting food for centuries. Foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, and even fermented pickles are common in Amish kitchens, and for good reason. Fermented foods are incredibly nutritious, packed with probiotics that support gut health and improve digestion. Fermentation isn't just about food preservation. It's about creating something with depth and complexity. The Amish don't just preserve cabbage and cucumbers, they transform them. As the food ferments, it develops rich, tangy flavors that make it a perfect addition to any meal. The process is natural, requiring no added preservatives or chemicals, just salt, time, and a little patience. In Amish households, you'll often find large jars or crocks of fermenting vegetables sitting in cool, dark places, bubbling away as the natural process takes place. The Amish believe in letting the earth work its magic. With careful attention, they ensure that every jar of fermented food is not only preserved, but also full of flavor and health benefits. The result is food that's both long-lasting and full of life. The Amish and their smoked meats, a flavor that stands the test of time. One of the most delicious and often overlooked methods of food preservation practiced by the Amish is smoking meat. This technique isn't just about extending the shelf life of meats. It's about enhancing the flavor, creating something that's rich, savory, and packed with character. Amish families often smoke pork, beef, and even chicken, using wood from local trees to infuse the meats with smoky goodness. The process of smoking meats isn't quick, but the results are well worth the wait. The Amish use traditional methods, slow cooking the meat over a wood fire, allowing the flavors to seep in over hours or even days. Smoking not only preserves the meat, but it also adds a depth of flavor that you can't achieve through other preservation methods. It's a flavor that's unique to Amish cooking, a result of the slow, deliberate process that infuses each piece of meat with its own story. Smoking meats is also about practicality. In Amish communities, where large families live off the land, having a large supply of preserved meat is crucial, especially during the long winter months. Smoking ensures that meat can be stored for extended periods without refrigeration, making it an invaluable technique for ensuring that there's always enough food when fresh supplies aren't available. It's a tradition that has stood the test of time, one that connects the Amish to the past while ensuring their future food security. Preserving dairy, Amish cheese, and butter that lasts. The Amish have also mastered the art of preserving dairy products. Cheese and butter, staples in many Amish kitchens, are made in large quantities and preserved for later use. Unlike many modern dairy products that require refrigeration, Amish cheese and butter are made using traditional methods that extend their shelf life. One of the most popular methods is to make butter and store it in a cool place, often in a salted form. Salted butter can last for months without spoiling, making it perfect for long-term storage. Similarly, Amish cheese is often made in large wheels, which can be stored and aged for months or even years, developing richer flavors as it matures. The beauty of Amish dairy preservation is that it's simple, yet effective. The Amish don't rely on complicated preservatives or modern technologies to keep their dairy fresh. They use what the land gives them: salt, cool temperatures, and time, and turn that into food that nourishes the body and soul. It's a reminder that sometimes the most sustainable methods are the simplest ones. The Amish way, a slow and steady approach to food security. When you step back and look at the Amish way of life, it becomes clear that food preservation isn't just a practical skill, it's a way of life. The Amish are masters of living in harmony with the land, taking only what they need and preserving it in ways that ensure they can live comfortably, even in the harshest of winters. Their methods are deeply rooted in tradition, passed down through generations and refined over centuries. They don't rush. They don't panic. They simply prepare. The Amish understand the value of patience, of planning ahead, and of respecting the earth that sustains them. They don't rely on modern conveniences or technology to survive. They rely on their knowledge, their skills, and the natural world around them. In a world that moves faster and faster, the Amish remind us that sometimes the best way to ensure the future is by slowing down, preparing thoughtfully, and respecting the rhythms of the earth. Their food preservation techniques are a testament to their wisdom, a way of living that ensures they'll never go hungry, no matter what the future holds. They've learned that with patience and respect, the harvest can last forever. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Amish food preservation. If you found these timeless tips useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more rustic wisdom from the heart of the Amish way of life. At Rustic Plantry, we're all about sustainable, traditional, and delicious living. So stay tuned for more ways to bring the homestead life into your kitchen. Until next time, keep your pantry full and your heart full of gratitude.